Hello, my dear friends. A very warm welcome to all of you once again to our special international news update. Friends, today we are going to talk about a piece of news from the United States that has caught the attention of not just millions, but tens of millions of people. Yes, friends, we are talking about the 2026 Social Security increase. In the United States, millions of retired people, disabled citizens, and low-income individuals depend on their monthly Social Security payments to manage their everyday lives. Because of this, whenever there is news about an increase in Social Security payments, it immediately becomes extremely important for millions of families. And now, the latest information regarding 2026 has increased hopes among many people, while also raising several important questions. According to recent reports, Social Security payments in 2026 have increased by about 2.8%. This increase is called COLA, which stands for Cost of Living Adjustment. This is the annual increase added to Social Security payments to keep up with inflation. In simple terms, when the cost of living rises, the government increases Social Security benefits so that people can maintain their purchasing power. After the 2.8% COLA adjustment for 2026, the average monthly Social Security benefit for retired individuals has increased to about $2,071 per month. In comparison, the average payment in 2025 was about $2,015 per month. That means retirees are seeing an average increase of around $56 per month. However, it is important to understand that this increase will not be the same for every person. This is because Social Security benefits depend on several factors, such as how many years a person worked, how much they earned during their career, and the age at which they decided to retire. All of these factors play a role in determining the final Social Security payment a person receives. Friends, it is also reported that more than 70 million Americans rely on Social Security benefits. Because of this, even a small increase in Social Security payments can have a direct impact on the lives of millions of people. But, friends, there is another interesting point that experts are discussing. Some analysts believe that although Social Security payments have increased, rising inflation and healthcare costs may reduce the real benefit of this increase. In many cases, higher Medicare premiums can consume a portion of the increased Social Security payments. This means that the actual amount of money people receive in their hands may not increase as much as expected. Even so, this increase still comes as a relief for millions of people who depend on Social Security payments every single month. Now, the biggest question is, could this increase become larger in the coming years? Is it possible that Social Security payments could see even bigger increases in the future? And could 2027 bring an even higher adjustment? We will explore the answers to all of these questions in the next part of this news update, because some new economic data has recently emerged, and based on these figures, experts are now making fresh predictions about the future of Social Security. So, let's move forward to the second and very important part of this news update. Friends, as we explained in the first part, Social Security payments in 2026 have increased by about 2.8%. But now an important question arises. How is this increase actually determined? And how does the government decide how much Social Security payments should increase each year? In reality, the increase in Social Security benefits is directly linked to inflation data. In the United States, inflation is measured using a special index called CPIW, which stands for Consumer Price Index for Urban Wage Earners and Clerical Workers. Each year, the government carefully reviews the data from this index. If inflation rises, Social Security payments are increased accordingly, and if inflation remains low, the increase is also smaller. The 2026 COLA, or Cost of Living Adjustment increase, was determined using this same process. Experts say that inflation showed a slight increase over the past several months, which is why a 2.8% COLA adjustment was set for 2026. However, this increase is much smaller compared to 2023. You may remember that in 2023, Social Security benefits received a historic 8.7% increase, which was one of the largest adjustments in decades. But now, since inflation has started to cool down and become more controlled, the increase has returned to a more normal level. But friends, another major update related to Social Security is also emerging. Reports suggest that in the United States, some lawmakers are currently working on a plan to introduce significant changes to the SSI program, which stands for Supplemental Security Income. According to reports, a new bill has been introduced that could change several rules for SSI beneficiaries. If this bill is passed, millions of people could receive greater financial support. Under this proposal, several major changes are being discussed, such as increasing the income limits, raising the resource limits, and eliminating some outdated rules. It is being reported that around 7.4 million people could benefit from these changes. If these proposals become law, 2026 could turn out to be a very important year for Social Security and SSI beneficiaries. However, friends, there is also a concern being discussed among economic experts. Some analysts believe that pressure on the Social Security fund could increase in the coming years. The main reason is that the number of retired Americans is steadily rising, and as more people retire, the government will need to pay out more Social Security benefits. That is why many experts believe that the Social Security system may need reforms in the future to keep it financially stable. But for now, the 2026 increase is still good news for millions of people who depend on these monthly payments for their daily expenses. Now, the biggest question is, could there be an even larger Social Security increase in 2027? Could major changes be coming to the Social Security system, and will the Social Security fund remain secure in the future? We will explore the answers to all of these questions in the third and final part of this video.
दोस्तों, अब बात करते हैं उस सवाल की जो आज हर सोशल सिक्योरिटी लाभार्थी के मन में है, और वो सवाल है, आखिर सोशल सिक्योरिटी का भविष्य क्या है? क्या आने वाले वर्षों में सोशल सिक्योरिटी भुगतान सुरक्षित रहेगा? और क्या भविष्य में भुगतान में और बढ़ोतरी हो सकती है? कुछ नई रिपोर्ट्स के अनुसार आने वाले वर्षों में सोशल सिक्योरिटी भुगतान में बढ़ोतरी जारी रह सकती है। हालांकि ये बढ़ोतरी पूरी तरह से महंगाई के आंकड़ों पर निर्भर करेगी। अगर महंगाई बढ़ती है तो कोला भी ज़्यादा हो सकता है, और अगर महंगाई कम रहती है तो बढ़ोतरी भी सीमित रह सकती है। कुछ शुरुआती अनुमान बताते हैं कि 2027 में सोशल सिक्योरिटी कोला लगभग 2% से 3% के बीच रह सकता है। हालांकि अभी ये सिर्फ एक अनुमान है, क्योंकि अंतिम फैसला हर साल महंगाई के आंकड़ों के आधार पर किया जाता है। लेकिन विशेषज्ञों का मानना है कि आने वाले समय में सोशल सिक्योरिटी सिस्टम को मजबूत बनाने के लिए सरकार को कुछ बड़े फैसले लेने पड़ सकते हैं, जैसे कि टैक्स सीमा बढ़ाना, रिटायरमेंट उम्र में बदलाव करना या सोशल सिक्योरिटी फंड के लिए नए संसाधन जोड़ना। हालांकि अभी तक सरकार की ओर से इस पर कोई अंतिम फैसला नहीं लिया गया है, लेकिन इतना ज़रूर है कि सोशल सिक्योरिटी अमेरिका के सबसे महत्वपूर्ण कार्यक्रमों में से एक है और करोड़ों लोग इस पर निर्भर हैं। इसलिए सरकार भी इस सिस्टम को सुरक्षित रखने के लिए लगातार काम कर रही है। दोस्तों, फिलहाल 2026 सोशल सिक्योरिटी इंक्रीज उन लोगों के लिए राहत की खबर है जो हर महीने इस भुगतान का इंतजार करते हैं, और आने वाले महीनों में इस विषय पर और भी बड़े अपडेट सामने आ सकते हैं। इसलिए अगर आप सोशल सिक्योरिटी से जुड़ी हर नई खबर सबसे पहले जानना चाहते हैं तो हमारे साथ जुड़े रहिए।
Friends, as we learned in the previous parts, an increase in Social Security payments for 2026 has been announced. This increase is determined under the annual COLA, Cost of Living Adjustment, provided by the Social Security Administration in the United States. But now, a new question is emerging. Will this increase actually improve people's financial situation? Friends, millions of retired citizens in the United States depend on Social Security payments after spending their entire lives working. For many of them, this monthly benefit is their largest and sometimes only source of income. In such a situation, if inflation rises rapidly while the increase in Social Security remains small, it can directly affect their daily lives. For 2026, the increase is estimated to be around 2.8%. This means that on average, people receiving Social Security benefits may see an increase of about $50 to $60 per month. However, this amount can vary from person to person. That is because Social Security payments depend on several factors, such as how many years a person worked, what their average lifetime earnings were, and at what age they chose to retire. All of these factors are considered when determining a person's Social Security benefit. However, many experts believe that the 2026 increase is not as large as people were expecting. This is mainly because in recent years, the healthcare and housing expenses in the United States has increased significantly. As a result, a large portion of the additional Social Security income may simply go toward covering these rising expenses. Still, the increase is considered a relief for millions of beneficiaries who rely on these payments every month. Now, the big question is, could there be a larger increase in Social Security payments in the future? And could political changes in the United States affect Social Security benefits? Let's talk about that. Friends, one of the major factors that can influence the future of Social Security is American politics. Whenever elections take place in the United States, Social Security becomes a major topic of discussion. This is because millions of Americans depend on this program for their financial security. That is why many political leaders often promise to protect and strengthen Social Security. Some time ago, former U.S. President Donald Trump also made several statements regarding Social Security and Medicare. He emphasized that protecting benefits for retired citizens is extremely important. However, different political leaders in the United States have different views on how to strengthen the Social Security system. For example, some leaders suggest raising the taxable income limit to increase funding for Social Security. Others believe the government should focus on reducing federal spending. Because of these differences, debates about Social Security policy continue in Washington. But one thing most policymakers agree on is that Social Security is one of the most important social safety programs in the United States, and protecting it remains a top priority. At the same time, some lawmakers have introduced new proposals aimed at reforming the Social Security system. If these proposals are approved in the future, major changes in Social Security benefits could occur in the coming years. Now, this brings us to the biggest question. Will the Social Security system remain secure in the coming decades? According to several economic reports, the Social Security Trust Fund could face financial pressure in the future. This is largely because the number of people retiring in the United States continues to grow. When more people retire, the government must pay benefits to a larger population, which increases the financial burden on the system. However, many experts believe that if the government takes action in time, the Social Security system can remain stable for many years. Possible reforms could include increasing the Social Security payroll tax limit, adjusting the retirement age, or adding new sources of revenue to support the program. So far, the government has not made a final decision on these potential reforms. But one thing is clear: Social Security is a financial lifeline for tens of millions of Americans, and the government continues to work toward keeping this program strong and sustainable. Friends, in the coming months, more important updates related to Social Security may emerge. So if you want to stay informed about the latest international news and major updates, make sure to stay connected with our channel.